The glass towers of Morrison Industries pierced the Seattle skyline like silver needles threading through clouds. From the 40th floor, Marcus Morrison could see the entire city spread beneath him like a circuit board of lights and shadows. He stood at his office window, watching the rain streak down the glass, each droplet racing toward an invisible finish line. At 37 years old, Marcus had built an empire worth billions, but the view from the top felt emptier than he ever imagined it would be. His reflection in the window showed a man in an expensive suit with tired eyes and shoulders that carried too much weight. The office behind him was all sharp edges and cold surfaces, chrome and black leather, no photographs, no personal touches, nothing that suggested a life beyond these walls. Marcus had not always been alone. 3 years ago, his world had color and warmth. Sarah, his wife of 8 years, had filled their home with laughter and fresh flowers. She would dance in the kitchen while cooking, spinning with a wooden spoon as her microphone, making him laugh, despite his protests about being too tired from work. Their son, Oliver, was 5 then, a whirlwind of energy, who loved dinosaurs and bedtime stories. Marcus remembered the weight of Oliver's small body against his chest as he read about brave knights and distant kingdoms. But that was before the plane crash. Sarah had taken Oliver to visit her parents in Colorado for Thanksgiving, while Marcus stayed behind for an important merger. The small aircraft encountered severe weather over the mountains. There were no survivors. In one phone call, his entire world collapsed into silence. Since then, Marcus lived in that silence, filling it with work, with meetings, with numbers that meant nothing. His mansion in Bellevue stood empty most nights, too many rooms filled with ghosts. He ate dinner at his desk, slept on the office couch more often than his own bed, and avoided anywhere that might remind him of what he had lost. The Morrison Foundation was his only connection to anything beyond profit margins. It was Sarah's idea originally, a way to give back to the community that had supported their company's growth. After the accident, Marcus kept it running but rarely involved himself personally. He wrote checks, signed documents, and let his assistant handle the details. That was until today. His assistant, Janet, a woman in her 60s who had worked for him since the beginning, knocked on his door with unusual insistence. "Mr. Morrison, there's something you need to see," she said, holding a tablet with a video paused on the screen. "It's from the Riverside Children's Rehabilitation Center. They're one of our beneficiaries." Marcus waved his hand dismissively, still staring out the window. "Send them whatever they need, Janet. Double it if necessary." But Janet didn't leave. She walked around his desk and placed the tablet in front of him. "Please, just watch this. It's only 2 minutes." Something in her voice made him turn. Janet had never pushed him like this before. He picked up the tablet and pressed play. The video showed a small girl, maybe 6 years old, sitting in a wheelchair in what looked like a physical therapy room. Her dark hair was pulled back in pigtails, and she wore a purple dress that had seen better days. Her legs were thin, motionless, but her eyes were bright with determination. A physical therapist was explaining that the girl, named Emma, had been paralyzed from the waist down in a car accident that killed her parents 8 months ago. She was living with her elderly grandmother, who worked 2 jobs to pay for basic needs. The foundation's money helped with medical bills, but Emma had stopped responding to therapy. She had stopped trying to do her exercises, stopped talking. 2 other children stopped smiling. The therapist's voice cracked as she explained that Emma used to love dancing before the accident. She would put on shows for her parents, spinning in circles until she got dizzy. Now she just sat by the window, during activity time, watching other children play. The video ended with Emma staring at her motionless legs, a single tear rolling down her cheek. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest, a fault line that had been holding back an ocean of buried emotion. "Why are you showing me this?" Marcus asked, his voice rougher than intended. Janet sat down across from him, something she had never done in 15 years. "Because that little girl is disappearing the same way you are," she said gently. "And maybe, just maybe, you both need the same thing." Marcus looked at the frozen image of Emma on the screen. "What could I possibly do for her? I'm not a doctor. I can't make her walk again." Janet leaned forward. "The center is having a special event next week, a talent show for the children. Emma won't participate. She tells everyone she has no talent anymore. But Marcus, I've seen you with Oliver. You were a wonderful father. Maybe you could visit, just once. Sometimes children need to know that someone sees them, really sees them." Marcus wanted to refuse. The thought of being around a hurting child, of seeing that pain reflected back at him, felt like walking into fire. But something about Emma's eyes in that video wouldn't let him go. They were the eyes of someone who had given up on tomorrow, the following Tuesday. Marcus found himself standing outside the Riverside Children's Rehabilitation Center, holding a small gift bag and questioning every decision that brought him here. The building was old but well maintained, with colorful murals painted on the exterior walls, showing children playing and laughing. Inside, the hallways smelled of disinfectant mixed with crayons and apple juice. A young woman named Beth, the center's director, greeted him with barely contained excitement. "Mr. Morrison, we're so honored you're here. The children don't know who you are, of course. We just told them a special visitor was coming." She led him through corridors lined with children's artwork, past rooms where physical therapy sessions were in progress, toward a sunny common room at the end of the hall. "Emma is over there," Beth whispered, pointing to a corner where a small figure sat in a wheelchair, facing the window. Marcus approached slowly, his expensive shoes clicking against the linoleum floor. Emma didn't turn around, even when he pulled up a small plastic chair beside her. For a moment, they sat in silence, both looking out at the garden, where other children were playing a game of tag. "You like watching them play?" Marcus asked finally. Emma shrugged, still not looking at him. "They can run," she said simply, as if that explained everything. Marcus nodded. "Running is nice, but you know what? Not everything beautiful in this world requires running." Emma turned slightly, just enough to see him from the corner of her eye. "Like what?" Marcus thought for a moment. "Like music, like painting, like stories, like dancing." At the word dancing, Emma's whole body tensed. "I can't dance," she said firmly, turning back to the window. "My legs don't work." Marcus was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Did you know that some of the most beautiful dances in the world are performed by people who never move their feet?" Emma finally turned to look at him fully. Her eyes were brown, like Oliver's had been, filled with a sadness too heavy for someone so young. "That's not real dancing," she said. Marcus reached into his gift bag and pulled out something that made Emma's eyes widen. It was a pair of ribbon sticks, long flowing ribbons in purple and silver attached to sparkly wands. "My wife was a dancer," Marcus said softly, the words feeling strange after so long without saying them. "Not professionally, just for joy. She taught me that dancing isn't about your legs. It's about expressing what's in your heart. She used to dance with ribbons like these, making them fly through the air like birds." He demonstrated, moving one ribbon in a gentle figure-8 pattern. The ribbon caught the sunlight, casting purple shadows on the wall. Emma watched, transfixed. She said that every movement tells a story. Happy stories make big, sweeping circles. Sad stories move slowly, like clouds. Angry stories are sharp and quick. He held out one of the ribbon sticks to Emma. "Would you like to try?" Emma stared at the ribbon stick like it might bite her. Her small hands gripped the armrests of her wheelchair. "I told you, I can't dance anymore," she whispered, but her eyes never left the ribbons. Marcus moved his chair directly in front of her, getting down to her eye level. "Emma, can I tell you a secret?" She nodded slightly. 3 years ago, I lost my family too. my wife, and my little boy. And for 3 years, I've been telling myself, I can't do things anymore. I can't laugh, I can't play, I can't feel happy. But you know what I realized when I saw your video? Emma shook her head. I realized that maybe can't is just another word for scared. And being scared is okay. But staying scared forever means we miss out on beautiful things. He gently placed the ribbon stick on Emma's lap. You don't have to dance. But would you maybe just hold it? Feel how light it is. Emma's fingers slowly uncurled from the armrest. She touched the stick cautiously, then picked it up. The ribbon hung limply at first, but when she moved her wrist slightly, it rippled like water. A tiny spark appeared in her eyes. My mommy used to dance with me, she said so quietly Marcus almost missed it. She would hold my hands and spin me around. She called me her little butterfly. Marcus felt his throat tighten. I bet you were. A beautiful butterfly. Emma moved the ribbon again, a little bigger this time. Can you teach me to dance? She asked, and for the first time since he'd arrived, she looked directly into his eyes. The kind where my legs don't matter? Marcus smiled, and it felt like muscles he hadn't used in years were remembering how to work. I would be honored to teach you, little butterfly. For the next hour, Marcus and Emma sat in their corner of the common room, making the ribbons dance through the air. He showed her how to make circles and spirals, how to create waves and waterfalls of color. Other children began to gather, watching with curiosity as Emma's movements grew more confident. She started to narrate her ribbon's journey, telling stories of purple dragons and silver clouds. When she laughed at a particularly wild movement that sent the ribbon tangling around Marcus's head, the sound was like light breaking through storm clouds. Beth watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. She had never seen Emma engage with anyone like this since the accident. By the time Marcus had to leave, a small crowd of children had gathered, all wanting to try the ribbon dancing. Emma was showing a younger boy how to make figure eights, her face animated with excitement. Will you come back? Emma asked, as Marcus prepared to leave. He knelt beside her wheelchair. Would you like me to? She nodded enthusiastically. Maybe you could teach me more dances. And maybe, ... double quotes. She paused, suddenly shy. Maybe you could watch me in the talent show. If I decide to dance. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, a door opening that he had bolted shut 3 years ago. I would be honored to watch you dance, Emma. In fact, I have an idea. What if we prepared something special together? You could teach me too. I'm pretty rusty at this whole dancing thing. Emma giggled, a sound that Marcus wanted to bottle and keep forever. You're silly, but okay, we can practice together. As Marcus walked to his car, he realized he was smiling. Not the practiced smile he wore for board meetings, but a real smile that came from somewhere deep inside. For the first time in 3 years, he had something to look forward to. The next 2 weeks transformed both Marcus and Emma in ways neither expected. Marcus arrived at the center every afternoon, bringing new ribbons in different colors and materials. Some had bells that tinkled when they moved. Others were made of shimmering fabric that caught the light like rainbows. Emma attacked each practice session with determination that reminded Marcus of himself in his early business days. Except her motivation came from joy rather than ambition. She created entire stories with her movements, adventures of brave princesses who could fly without wings and dragons who painted the sky with their breath. Marcus found himself laughing more in those 2 weeks than he had in 3 years. Emma had a way of seeing magic in everything. When a ribbon got tangled, she declared it was just giving them a puzzle to solve. When she dropped a wand, she said, it was taking a quick nap. Her grandmother, Rosa, a woman in her 70s who worked as a night janitor and a grocery store clerk, came to watch one afternoon. She pulled Marcus aside with tears in her eyes. I haven't seen my baby girl smile like this since before, she said, unable to finish the sentence. You've given her back something I thought was gone forever. Marcus learned Emma's story in pieces. Her parents had been taking her to a dance recital when a drunk driver ran a red light. Emma had been practicing for weeks for that recital. Her first real performance. She was going to be a butterfly, emerging from a cocoon to discover she could fly. The costume her mother had made still hung in her closet at her grandmother's house, unworn. Emma hadn't talked about dance or butterflies since the accident, until Marcus arrived with those ribbons. Sometimes I dream I'm dancing, Emma confided. One afternoon, taking a break from practice. In my dreams, my legs work, and I spin and spin until I turn into a real butterfly. But then I wake up, and I remember. Marcus sat beside her, watching dust motes dance in the afternoon sunlight. You know what's interesting about butterflies, he said. They don't actually need to leave the ground to be beautiful. Have you ever watched one sitting on a flower? Its wings still move, still catch the light, still inspire everyone who sees them. The day of the talent show arrived, gray and drizzly, but inside the center, the atmosphere was electric with excitement. Parents and volunteers had decorated the main hall with streamers and balloons. A small stage had been set up at one end, complete with a silver curtain that sparkled under the lights. Marcus arrived early, wearing something other than a business suit for the first time in years, dark jeans and a purple shirt that Emma had picked out for him during a video call to his assistant. We have to match, she had insisted. All the best dance partners match. He found Emma backstage, wearing a purple dress with silver trim that her grandmother had sewn specially for the occasion. Her hair was crowned with a tiara of silk butterflies that trembled when she moved. She was gripping her ribbon sticks so tightly her knuckles were white. What if I mess up? She whispered when she saw him. What if everyone laughs? What if they think it's not real dancing? Marcus crouched beside her wheelchair, taking her small hands in his. Emma, can I tell you something about my wife? She used to get nervous before she danced too, and she would tell me that butterflies in your stomach are just wings getting ready to fly. The nervousness means you care, and caring makes the dance beautiful. Emma took a deep breath. Will you stay where I can see you? Marcus squeezed her hands. I'll be right in the front row. And Emma, remember, we're not dancing for them. We're dancing for the joy of it. For your parents. For my family. For everyone who can't dance anymore, but lives on in our movements. Emma nodded, her chin lifting with determination. For the butterflies who forgot how to fly, she said softly, we'll remind them. The talent show began with various acts. A boy who could juggle while telling jokes. A girl who played the recorder with more enthusiasm than skill. A group of children who performed a skit about superhero vegetables. Each act was met with enthusiastic applause from the audience of families, staff, and volunteers. Finally, Beth announced, our last performer tonight is someone very special. Emma has been working incredibly hard with her dance mentor, Mr. Marcus, to share something beautiful with us. Please welcome Emma and her ribbon butterfly dance. The curtains parted to reveal Emma in the center of the stage, her wheelchair positioned under a spotlight. The ribbons lay across her lap, catching the light like liquid silver and purple. Fire? The room fell silent. Marcus could feel the tension, the uncertainty from some audience members about what they were about to see. Then the music began, a gentle piano melody that seemed to pull at heartstrings. Emma lifted one ribbon stick, then the other. She began slowly, tentatively, making small circles in the air. But as the music built, so did her confidence. The ribbons became extensions of her arms, her emotions, her story. She made them soar and dive, twist and float. Her upper body moved with grace that transcended the wheelchair, swaying and reaching as if she were dancing with the wind itself. Her face transformed from concentration to pure joy as she lost herself in the movement. The ribbons painted pictures. In the air, butterflies emerging from cocoons, birds taking flight, flowers blooming in fast motion. Halfway through the performance, Emma began to narrate, her voice clear and strong. Once there was a butterfly who forgot how to fly. She thought she needed wings to be beautiful. But then she learned that beauty comes from the heart, and dancing happens in the soul. She learned that even sitting still, she could move mountains with her dreams. The audience was transfixed. Several parents were openly crying. Rosa clutched a tissue to her face, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Marcus felt tears running down his own cheeks, not of sadness, but of something else entirely, something that felt like healing. As the music reached its crescendo, Emma raised both ribbons high above her head, creating a swirling vortex of color. Then, in a move they had practiced dozens of times, she released one ribbon stick, letting it fly in a perfect arc across the stage, while catching it with her other hand, never breaking the flow of movement. The audience gasped, then erupted in applause before the music even ended. But Emma wasn't finished. As the final notes played, she brought the ribbons down gently, cradling them like sleeping butterflies, and spoke the last words of her narration, and the butterfly realized she had been flying all along, just in a different way, a way that was uniquely, beautifully, perfectly hers. The silence that followed lasted only a heartbeat before the room exploded with applause. People rose to their feet, cheering and whistling. Emma's face lit up with a smile so bright it could have powered the entire building. She looked directly at Marcus, who was standing and applauding with everyone else, tears streaming freely down his face. He gave her a thumbs up, and she laughed, raising her ribbon sticks in triumph. After the show, Emma was surrounded by other children wanting to learn ribbon dancing. Parents approached to tell her how moved they were, but she kept looking for Marcus through the crowd. When she finally spotted him talking to her grandmother, she called out, "Mr. Marcus, we did it. We made them see the butterflies." He came over and knelt beside her chair. "No, Emma, you did it. You showed everyone that dancing isn't about legs, it's about heart. And you have the biggest, bravest heart I've ever seen." Emma threw her arms around his neck, hugging him tightly. "Will you keep teaching me?" she asked into his shoulder. "Will you keep coming to see me?" Marcus hugged her back, feeling something heal inside him that he thought would stay broken forever. "Wild horses couldn't keep me away, little butterfly." Over the next several months, Marcus's life changed in ways he never anticipated. He reduced his office hours, delegating more to his capable team. 3 afternoons a week, he could be found at the center, teaching ribbon dancing to Emma and a growing group of children who wanted to learn. He started the Butterfly Dance Program, funding adaptive dance classes for children with disabilities across the city. Emma became the program's first student teacher, helping other children discover they could dance in their own unique ways. Marcus also began spending time with Emma outside the center. He would take her and Rosa to the park, to museums, to the beach where Emma would make her ribbons dance in the ocean breeze. Rosa, initially wary of this wealthy stranger's interest in her granddaughter, came to see him as the blessing he was. "You brought her back to life," she told him one evening, as they watched Emma teaching ribbon moves to children at the park, "but I think she did the same for you." Marcus nodded, watching Emma laugh as a little boy got tangled in his ribbons. "She taught me that grief doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be a chapter that leads to something different but still beautiful." The hole left by Sarah and Oliver would never fully heal, but Emma had shown him that his heart had room for new love, new purpose, new reasons to smile. 1 year after that first talent show, the center held another performance. This time, Emma performed with 5 other children, all in wheelchairs, all making ribbons fly through the air in synchronized beauty. They called themselves the Butterfly Squadron. Marcus watched from the audience, no longer in the front row alone, but surrounded by people who had become family. Rosa sat beside him, clutching his hand during the performance. Beth was there, along with therapists, volunteers, and dozens of families whose children had been touched by the butterfly dance program. As Emma led her squadron through their routine, Marcus thought about the title of their performance. Can you teach me to dance? It was Emma's idea, she said, because that question had changed everything. That simple request from a little girl in a wheelchair to a lonely CEO had created ripples that touched countless lives. The performance ended with all 6 children raising their ribbons to create a rainbow of color above their heads. Emma's voice rang out clear and strong. We asked if someone could teach us to dance, but what we learned is that we were always dancers. We just needed someone to remind us that dancing happens in the heart, not the feet. Thank you to everyone who helped us remember how to fly. The audience erupted in applause, but Marcus barely heard it. He was thinking about Sarah, about Oliver, about how they would have loved Emma. He was thinking about how grief and joy could exist in the same space, how broken things could be beautiful, how a little girl who couldn't walk had taught him to dance again. After the show, Emma rolled over to him, her face glowing with accomplishment. Mr. Marcus, did you see? We flew, all of us. We really flew. He knelt beside her, taking her small hands in his. Yes, little butterfly. You flew. You all flew. And you taught me to fly too. Emma tilted her head, studying his face with those wise brown eyes. Do you think our families who went to heaven can see us dancing? Marcus felt his throat tighten, but he smiled through the tears. I know they can, and I think they're dancing too, proud of their brave butterfly and the CEO, who remembered how to smile. As the evening wound down and families began to leave, Marcus stood with Emma and Rosa, watching the sun set through the center's large windows. The sky was painted in purples and silvers, like ribbon dancers across the horizon. Emma was demonstrating a new move she wanted to try, her hands moving gracefully through the air, when she suddenly stopped and looked up at Marcus. Can you teach me to dance? She asked, and then giggled. That's how it all started, remember? With just that question, Marcus smiled, thinking about how one question had indeed changed everything. The lonely CEO who had built walls around his heart, who had forgotten how to feel anything but loss, had found healing in teaching a little girl in a wheelchair to dance with ribbons, and in return, she had taught him that life after loss wasn't about moving on, but about moving forward, carrying the love of those lost, while making room for new love to grow. Yes, he said softly, watching Emma's ribbons catch the last rays of sunlight. That simple question started everything. Can you teach me to dance? Begged the little girl in the wheelchair, and the lonely CEO smiled for the first time in years. Emma laughed, making her ribbons spiral through the air. And look at us now, Mr. Marcus. We're all dancing, just in our own special way. As they prepared to leave, Emma insisted on showing Marcus one more move she had been practicing. She called it the butterfly transformation. She started with the ribbons close to her body, then slowly extended her arms, letting the ribbons unfurl, like wings emerging from a cocoon. The movement was so graceful, so full of hope and beauty, that everyone still in the center stopped to watch. In that moment, Marcus understood that healing wasn't about forgetting or replacing what was lost. It was about honoring the past while embracing the present, about finding beauty in brokenness, about discovering that even when parts of us no longer work the way they once did, we can still dance, we can still fly, we can still transform pain into purpose, grief into grace, and loneliness into love. All it takes is someone willing to ask, "Can you teach me to dance?" and someone else brave enough to say yes. The butterfly dance program eventually expanded to 12 cities, helping thousands of children with disabilities discover their own unique ways of moving and expressing themselves. Marcus stepped back from his CEO position to run the program full-time, finding more satisfaction in watching children bloom than he ever had in closing million-dollar deals. Emma grew stronger each year, eventually gaining limited mobility with leg braces and crutches. though she still preferred her wheelchair for dancing because, as she said, "It's part of my wings now." She became a nationally recognized advocate for adaptive arts programs, speaking at conferences with the same ribbon sticks Marcus had given her that first day. But she always introduced herself the same way: "I'm Emma, and I'm a dancer." Someone once taught me that dancing doesn't happen with your feet, it happens with your heart. And everyone, absolutely everyone, has a heart that can dance. Years later, when people asked Marcus how he went from being a reclusive billionaire CEO to running a nonprofit that brought dance to disabled children, he would tell them about a little girl who changed his life with 5 simple words. He would tell them about purple ribbons and silver wings, about butterflies who forgot how to fly but remembered how to soar. He would tell them that sometimes the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places, and that healing often happens when we stop focusing on our own pain long enough to help heal someone else's. But mostly, he would tell them about Emma, the little girl in the wheelchair who begged, "Can you teach me to dance?" And in doing so, taught a lonely CEO that life, after loss, could still be beautiful, still be worth living, still be full of reasons to smile. Because in the end, that's what dance really is: moving through life with grace. Even when the music seems to have stopped, even when your legs won't work, even when your heart is broken, it's finding rhythm in the chaos, beauty in the struggle, and joy in the simple act of moving forward, one graceful gesture at a time.